Yeah, from 1983 all the way to 1989, concentrating in 1983, 1984, and 1985, the Hudson Valley of New York, which is only 25 miles northwest of New York City and northeast of New York City, one of the most highly populated areas in the world, March 24th and a number of dates after that, witnesses at rush hour traffic was at nighttime, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 8:30, came to a halt as hundreds and hundreds of cars just pulled off the side roads to watch an object which people described the size of an aircraft carrier, triangular in shape, lit up like a Christmas tree with multicolored lights, slowly moving at low altitude across the area, and at times projecting down a brilliant beam of light, no sound. Now, the most fascinating thing about this case is that it occurred over a long period of time, and the number of witnesses who saw this object as it passed over were scientists, police officers, pilots, engineers, people from all walks of life, lawyers, doctors, air traffic controllers, meteorologists. People from all walks of life looked at this thing, and they were convinced that what they saw was not from this earth. As a matter of fact, some of them were so startled that as they got out of their car, all they could do is look up to the sky, and as this enormous dark triangular object blocked out the sky and silently passed over. These are people, by the way, who have no interest in UFOs. These are people who were very well educated, very intelligent, good observers, who would not claim that they saw something they could not identify, that they believe was not from this planet, unless they were absolutely sure. I mean, you could not imagine a scene more bizarre, even in the most incredible scientific science fiction movie, about hundreds of people along the highways just getting out of their cars, pulling over, traffic coming to a halt as this enormous object drifts over.
And there's never really been a really good government or military explanation for it, has there?
Oh, no. You see, they tried to convince people that all they were seeing was a bunch of pranksters flying small ultralight aircraft in formation, flashing colored lights to fool people. And now you have to remember also that as time went on, the object continued to appear. It caused quite a stir in the area, and on one occasion in July of 1984, it was seen over the Indian Point nuclear reactor in Buchanan, New York, over reactor number 3, the only reactor that was in operation at the time, and was witnessed by 12 New York State Authority police officers who stood right under the object as the object hovered over the exhaust chimney of reactor number 3. And I talked to 6 of these police officers who were convinced that what they saw was alien in nature. And they took the appropriate action. I mean, there was a big cover-up, and to this day, it's still a mystery. But the interesting thing is that they were saying that, that the state police and the New York Power Authority released a statement saying, yes, there was a UFO sighting over the reactor, but in no way was the reactor affected. Well, that's not true. It was. And things happened there a short time later in the future involving people seeing alien-like creatures coming through the walls of the reactor. But the interesting thing is that the official explanation that it was just a bunch of pranksters who flew over secure airspace just to put on an air show to fool people. However, the object was videotaped a little bit from a distance as it approached the reactor area. And the videotape back in 1984 showed a pattern of lights in the night sky, taking up quite a large area of the video frame. Now, we had that video sent to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. And JPL is actually the United States government. They do all the imaging for the space program. And they're one of the most anti-UFO organizations in the world. And they have the top scientists there. Well, we wanted to know if the lights in the video represented one rigid object or individual objects. And we got a letter back from the director of JPL at the time, Dr. Lou Allen, saying that a number of their imaging people looked at the video and they believed it was one rigid object. And that would totally rule out the individual aircraft in formation. But no one who got close to this object actually believed that they were looking at conventional aircraft. And I saw the Hudson Valley UFO myself on 3 occasions. And I can tell you, it's very real. Whatever it was, it seemed to have the ability to be this enormous object in the sky and then blink out. Not only did I see this, but other witnesses saw over a period of different dates of the sightings. They said the object would be in the sky, and as it passed over silently, some people reported a slight humming sound. All the stars were blacked out underneath the object. And then all of a sudden, the object disappeared, and they could see the stars. And then the object would reappear in a different part of the sky. Some people reported that the object actually folded down on itself and actually turned on its side, and it was so thin and just like a telescoping antenna collapsing down on itself, disappeared. And back in 1984, this was a very bizarre behavior for UFOs. And today, with the new advances in theories and theoretical physics, this object, which was reported the size of 2 football fields, was actually traveling in and out another dimension in our physical space. There's no other explanation for how an object that size could just disappear in the sky. How many witnesses are we talking about in the Hudson Valley? Today, we have a number that ranks in 7, 8, or 9,000 documented cases.
There was also, jumping back a bit from that date, you also spoke to a policeman who, I believe it was in New Hampshire in the 60s, reported seeing a metal object or an unidentified object. And what was interesting to me about that, you just mentioned Interdimensional. He described to you how he felt the object was actually almost a living, breathing entity. Yes,
and in Exeter, New Hampshire, and around the New Hampshire area back in the 60s, going into the 70s, there were sightings. And people reported that this particular object didn't seem like some type of vehicle, that it seemed like it was living. And people got the feeling of presence that it was a living creature. Also in the Hudson Valley, many people, when the object came over this house, they felt a psychic connection, a consciousness coming from the object, and they felt as if there was a connection between them and the object. When I heard this the first time, I just discounted it as imagination. But after I heard it like 20 or 30 times from very credible people, I realized that there was something going on here. But the fascinating thing is that the majority of these people who claim this psychic connection later had a contact experience with an intelligence that was not from this dimension, reality, or planet.
When you say contact, are we talking about abduction, or not in all cases, maybe just visitation?
Everything right across the board, the spectrum.